morning, my dear students. So yesterday we are discussing about the basics of Python, why we need to do programming, and what is the keywords we use in Python, and how to install Python, what is Python ideally, what are the different IDEs available for Python. So today let us talk a little bit about the interpreter and compiler. See, most of the programming languages today what we are getting will support both interpreter and compiler. It will support both interpreter and compiler. So what is an interpreter? What is an compiler? See, when you execute a program, if it is getting executed or if it is getting no executed step by step, that is instruction by instruction, then it is called interpreter. If the entire program is executed at a time, if the entire program is executed at a time, then it is called compiler. So the compiler is going to execute entire program at a time, and the interpreter it is going to execute instruction by instruction. See, most of the high level languages like what we use Java, C++, PHP, Perl, JavaScript. So most of them will support both interpreter and compiler. Again, is there any advantage or disadvantage when we use compiler or interpreter? There won't be any huge advantage or disadvantage. See, end of the day, what we require the output. We require the output. So the output will be taken. So based on the either compiler or interpreter. So the main purpose of the compiler or interpreter is, so it will take the machine level language as an input and it will process it and it will give us the required output. It will give us the required output, right? So based on the language, we are going to use the extension for your program files like Java programming is .java, .c, .cpp, etc., etc. So when compiler generates the executable file, that is the final output of your program. So it might be a .exe file, that is executable file, or DLL file, data link library. So it might be a DLL file or executable file. So that file can be understood by the system. System can easily understand that. So the moment it will execute .exe or .dll, we could able to use the application, but system will understand at the backend what is happening, right? So that is the work of compiler or interpreter. So in interpreter, what is going to happen? Interpreter does not produce any kind of executable files, but still what it will going to do is it's going to execute instructions step by step. It is going to execute instructions step by step. Say for example, if I have x equals to 10, so interpreter first executes this. Interpreter, what it will do? It will first execute this statement. Then it will execute this statement. Then it will execute this statement. Then it will execute this statement. Whereas compiler, that is not the scenario with the compiler. So what compiler will do? So compiler will execute entire program at a time and it will give us the required output. So that is the terminology we use for the interpreter and compiler, right? So in Python, when you want to write a program, so Python is an interpreted language. So that means each and every line of code will be executed one after the other. Each and every line of code will be executed one after the other. But when you go for a development of big programs, it is not a good idea because every line will be executed, right? So to avoid that, so we can save the Python program as .py. So when you run with the Python command, Python python space program name.py, so then it will execute the entire program at a time and then it will give us the final output. Though it is an interpreted language, it will execute entire program and then it will give us the output, right? So basically what is a program? So a program is a sequence of instructions which needs to do some task. Say for example, addition of two numbers. So why we write program addition of two numbers? So addition of two numbers is nothing but, so we are going to have a say for example, a equals to 10, b equals to 20. So when you want to do addition of two numbers, sum equals to a plus b. So what does it mean? So it's going to find out the sum. So a program is basically a set of instructions. You can see here, as we have seen in the previous example here. So you can see, so this is a one set of instructions. This together is called as a program, right? So when you want to write the program, you need to remember few building blocks of the program. First one is input, right? So most of the programs will take the input from the outside, that is using either keyboard, mouse, or files, etc., right? Some programs, there will be inbuilt input, like when we assign directly x equals to 10, y equals to 20. Next is output. So the moment you execute the program, so you are going to find out you're going to get the output. You are going to get the output. So the output will be displayed on the monitor, or it can be stored in a file, or it can be a voice message, it might be a music, etc., etc. Next is sequential execution. So as I shown in the previous program, the instructions will be executed sequentially, one after the other from the top. Next is conditional execution. See, some situations we might be putting some conditions. As already you have studied in C, C++ and Java, we'll use conditional statements like if condition, if else condition, etc., etc. So you can use that condition and you can execute either the true block or the false block, and sometimes we'll also skip it based on the condition. Next is repeated execution. So what is this repeated execution? In some tasks there will be a task which need to be repeated, so that means same block of code needs to be repeated based on the conditions. Then we are going to use the loops. As already we have seen, like for loop, while loop, do while loop, etc., etc., right? So then reuse. See, when we write the programs for our own purpose, like for solving some problem, so make sure that we are storing them in a kind of functions, because see, sometimes same task you need to repeat in multiple systems or multiple programs or multiple applications. So that time these functions can be used as a reusable blocks, right? So the reusable blocks, what is the advantage? Say for example, if I'm writing addition of two numbers, add of a comma b. See, a comma b value may change, but same add function is required in multiple locations. Then you can use this function whenever it is required, right? So these are the main building blocks of any programming language. So as I said, programming is an art. We should understand what to use, where to use, and how to use them. Then only we can come with a final program which will give us the expected results. See, when you are doing the program, you cannot say always that my program is going to give us the results, or my program is not going to have any errors. See, there is a possibility that you will also get the errors. So what are the minor errors, or what are the common errors you will get? So the first one is syntax errors. As name itself indicating, the syntax errors are nothing but, so when your syntax is not correct, right? So that means if we are not following the grammar properly, which is supposed to be. So when you are using any programming language, not only Python, in any programming language, if the syntax is not correct, then you will result in the syntax errors. Say for example, Python is a case sensitive language. Say hence you need to say whichever is capital letter, it should be capital. Whenever is small letter, it should be small letter. So if we are not following that, then we will get the error. Or to give you much more understanding, because still we not started the Python, say we will say that every statement in C programming should end with the semicolon. Suppose if you forget to write the semicolon, that is a syntax error. Or if you are writing the if condition, instead of if you write F5, that is also a syntax error, right? So many errors which we'll encounter while writing the problem are syntax errors. Then comes the logical errors. See, as name itself indicates, logical errors will come due to the poor understanding. As I said, a programmer should have a very good understanding of the program. So that means syntactically your program is correct. Your syntax is correct. But by mistake, you are not getting some output. That means your logic is wrong, or your logic is wrong. Say for example, so in some place you are supposed to write A mod B. See, you are supposed to write A mod B. Instead, you have written A by B. Then it is a logical error. Right? So there are so many logical errors which we will encounter in a program. See, no programmer can do the program without any errors. Surely we'll encounter the errors. How we are going to solve the errors? So we need to make sure that we are going to do the less errors. We are not going to have so many errors. By practice, we will get it. So when you keep on practicing it, then you can avoid most of the syntax errors and logical errors. Right? Now comes the last type of errors, that is semantic errors. These are also very common in nature. So when we use wrong usage of the variables, or wrong operations, wrong order, then you will get the semantic errors. Semantic errors. Say for example, I have defined variables only a and b, but if I try to modify the value of c, which is not defined, right? Or take an example here. See, in this example, we have written x, y, z, three values. But suppose if I change the value of a, I'll say like print a, then you will get the semantic errors. Right? So these are the very common errors which we will encounter in a program. See, apart from this, we'll also get one common type of error or one common error which is called as runtime error, which we will call it as exceptions. We won't call it error, exceptions, right? So when you will get runtime error, so when you have given wrong inputs, right? So when you are trying to divide by 0, or when you are having problem in connecting the database, right? Then you will get the runtime error. So these runtime errors will be thrown by the compiler when you run the program. So you need to make sure that you are writing a proper program. See, exception handling is very easy, as we have seen in Java. Sometimes if you feel that there is a possibility that we will get exception here, so you can write the exception handling. Still, sometimes you will get the errors, so that we can solve it at the runtime. So same like your Java programming, Python also provides a mechanism to handle various possible errors, like arithmetic error, floating point error, right? End of the file error, memory error. So we are going to use the concept of exception handling here. Also in Python. Now let us talk about the variables, expressions and statements. So that means, see, every programming language will be having the variables, expressions and statements. So how we are going to use these variables or expressions and statements in Python? So that is what we are going to do. See, now onwards, till now, whatever we discussed is basics of Python. I could say theory of Python. See, now onwards, we are going to see everything in practical. See, why I am not showing you in the PPT is, so the concept I will discuss here, the moment we'll get the code, we'll put it in the Python IDLE, as I shown yesterday. This is a Python IDLE, and we'll see the output directly. So that if you want to practice, you can practice at the opposite side by opening your laptop, desktop or mobile phone. So without any disturbance. So if you get any error also, you can ask there, right? Now let us start with the values and types. So what is a value? So a value is a very basic block which we require to work with the program. So it might be like 2, 10.5, string like hello, etc., right? So each value in Python has a type. For example, 2 is an integer, 10.5 is a floating point number, hello is a string, right? So you no need to mention what type it is, but there is a function, there is a method which we'll use to find out what type of variable it is, right? So that function or method is called as type. Now let us just go here. Say for example, I want to know type of 2, then enter. See, you can see here it is mentioning it is a integer. Now let us try one more. Type of hello. Now you can see it is a string. Type of 10.5 float, right? So that means in Python, so directly by using type function, you come to know whether it is a string value or integer value, whatever it is. See how it is identifying, not based on these values which you are passing, based on the notation. If it is an integer, it's an individual number. If it is a float point, there will be dot operator. If it is a string, it will be double quotes. To just give you a clear picture on this, let's say for example, type of, within double quotes, I am giving 12. Actually 12 is an integer, but because I have given double quotes, it will be treated as a string. So that means, so whenever you type a particular value in Python, you should be very careful. So if it is an integer value, make sure that you are not putting the double quotes or single quotes, anything, right? Now let us come to the variables. As already we have seen in C, C++, Java. So a variable is a named literal which will help us to store the value in the program. Please remember, this is one of the technical definition which you need to remember for your interview also. A variable is a named literal. Which will help to store the value in the program, right? So the variable can be modified, or the variable value can be modified whenever you require. Whenever you require, right? And in Python, as we said last class, no need to declare the variable. No need to declare the variable, right? You no need to mention int x, float x, double x, no need to declare that. So Python compiler will understand based on the value which we are going to pass it. Based on the value we are going to pass it, right? So as like other programs, the value will be assigned with the equals operator or assignment operator. Not equals, it is actually assignment operator, because equals means it will become equals to equals to. When comparison between two variables, then we'll use equals. So it is an assignment operator. Now you can see an example. So how we are going to use it. Say for example, if I want to store x. So see, usually in C programming, what we will do, int x equals to 10. This is how we are going to do. See, it is telling invalid syntax. Then what we need to do? So we need to directly assign x equals to 10. Now if I try to print this x, see, now you can understand interpreter concept. First I am assigning one instruction completed, then it is going to the next instruction. So x, right? 10. So whatever value I have assigned, it is coming. See, chevron is going to execute this particular statement, and then compiler will execute whatever there at the chevron, and then it will give the result, and then it will go to the next instruction or next line where chevron will be started again. Say for example, if I want to assign one more value, y equals to 20. I just assigned it. Now if I say print y, so it has printed. Now suppose if I want to have the x plus y value, so directly I can use x plus y. No need to mention data type, all those things, right? So 30. Say for example, if I try to do like this, a equals to x plus y, a equals to x plus y. Now I'll print the value of a. Print the value of a. See? So that means basically what I mean to say here is, so most of the scenarios we are not going to use a data type in front of the variable in generic terminology. In technically, if you want to say, you no need to mention the variable declaration in Python. You don't need to mention the variable declaration in Python, right? Now let us go further to discuss about the variable. See, when you are declaring a variable in Python or in any programming language, there are certain instructions which we need to follow. There are certain instructions which we need to follow, because you cannot give variable name just like that. You cannot give variable name just like that. So you need to follow certain instructions. We need to follow certain instructions. So here are few instructions which we need to follow with respect to Python programming. See, make sure that you will remember this question, because this is one of the important question for your VTU exam. See, first thing is variable name must not be a keyword. So that means yesterday we have seen keywords in the last class. So the keyword should not be used as a variable names. So the variables can contain alphabets, lowercase and uppercase, and numbers, but should not start with a number. Make sure that it is variable consists of lowercase letter, uppercase letters, and numbers, but should not start with the number, right? So it may contain a special character like underscore. It may contain a special character like underscore, which we usually use to combine variables with two words. Because some scenarios you will get two words which you want to give it as a variable name. Say for example, my salary. You cannot give my salary as a single word. So what you can do, my underscore salary, student name, student underscore name. Like this you can use. But we cannot use special symbols like, or special characters like at the rate of dollar, etc., etc. We are not, they are not allowed, right? And also one more thing you should remember is the variable names can start with an underscore character. The variable name directly can start with underscore, but most of the times we are going to avoid this practice. Why we are avoiding this practice is, see, because when you connect it to the database, we should be again give same kind of variable. It is going to be a problem there. So that's why we are avoiding it. Otherwise, you can start variable name with underscore. Next, as we said, like Python is a case sensitive language. So the variable name sum, that is small letter sum, is different from the capital letter sum. Small letter sum is different from the capital letter sum. So these are the few points which you need to remember when you are writing the variables in Python. Now let us see one by one, because see, as a programmer you should have one practice, that until unless you try it, until unless you feel it, don't believe anyone. Don't believe anyone. Now let us start one by one, like how it is done. Now let us say, for example, if is a keyword. So I'm just assigning if equals to 15. So we are telling that variable name must not be a keyword. Now we will see what is going to happen. So you got the syntax error, so we cannot assign it. Next, they can contain both uppercase and lowercase letters and numbers. So what we will do? So A equals to 12. See, next A 1 equals to 23. Right? So it is taking the combination of that. Say for example, if I say underscore A equals to 20, still it is taking. How to check whether it has taken or not? Just print it. Print of A. Print of A. Next, print of A 1. So it has taken. Print of course, underscore A is not a best practice, but still, just for your reference, I'm showing it. So it is taking that, right? Next, we are telling that you should not use some special characters. Let's say, for example, I'll use A at the rate of equals to 34. Now you can see there is a error which it is throwing, right? Unsupported operand type at the rate of equals to, right? So like this, there are certain rules which we need to follow when we are doing the variable declaration. Next, so next comes your statements. So what is a statement? What is a statement? We'll call it as instruction. It is called as instruction. So a statement is a small unit of code that can be executed by the Python interpreter. So it's a small unit of code. It's a single line code which can be executed by the Python interpreter, and every statement should have some meaning. Every statement should have some meaning. Without meaning, you cannot write the statement. If you write the statement, compiler will throw the error. Right? So in a program, we'll be having a set of instructions or sequence of statements. Right? So now to give an example, so here it is one statement which is print hello. What is the meaning of this? You need to print something. It is the assignment statement. So x equals to 5. This is where we are going to assign value of 5 equals to array 5 to the x. Then print x. So it's going to do the print value. So that means every statement will have some meaning. Otherwise, the compiler will throw the error. So I think no need to execute and show this. Already we have seen that. Then comes your operators and operands. Right? See, operators are the variables which we are going to write next to the operands. Sorry, operators are the special symbol which we will use to perform some specific task. Say for example, plus we use for the addition, minus we use for the subtraction, divided by we use for the division, star we'll use for the multiplication. So like that, operators will be there. So to perform these operations, we require operands. We cannot do just like that, right? We require operands. Operands are nothing but the variables which we are going to use to perform this operation. So to give you some example of the operators, arithmetic operators, you can see here plus, minus, star, divided by, floor division, modulus, right? Exponent, right? So these are the operators. These are the operands. You can see here a plus b, a minus b, a star b. So ab will remains as a operands. So Python supports different types of operators like other languages: arithmetic operators, relation operators, logical operators, Boolean operators. So different type of operators are supported by the Python. Now to give you first example, assignment operators. So apart from the arithmetic operators and relational operators, Python also supports assignment operator. So what is assignment operator? When you want to assign some value to the variable, then we are going to use assignment operator, which is equals to. You can see here x equals to x plus y equals to, or x plus equals to 1, right? Or you can also use x equals to 3, y equals to 5. So this is another way of doing the value declaration to the variable, And apart from this, arithmetic bitwise operators like star, division, modulo, right, floor value, and ampersand, so many assignment operations we can use. Now you can see one example. When I say y \\= equals to 2, what does it mean? So it is nothing but y equals to y \\2. So what is going to do? It's going to give the integer part which will be printed. So whatever integer part is there, it will be printed, right? So I'm not going to show every example. You can go practice it. Any doubt is there, you can come back, right? So these are the few expressions using the operations. So order of expressions as usual, what we have studied in C or C++ or Java. So precedence of operators, we'll call it as precedence of operators. When you have all the operators in one place, so how we are going to use it? Right? So we are going to use here a rule called, or precedence rule called PEMDAS, PEMDAS. P is nothing but parenthesis, exponential, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Right? So this is the rule, exponential rule, which we are going to use for the precedency of the operator, right? So first preference will be given for parenthesis. If parenthesis is there like this, so first this statement needs to be executed. So next is exponential value. How to represent exponential? 2 stars. So 2 star 3 means 2 cube, 2 power 3, right? So when you have exponential value, that will be given preference. Then comes your multiplication and division, right? Then comes addition and subtraction. Whereas coming to C++ or C or Java, where we'll use BODMAS rule, right? BODMAS rule we are going to use. First is the braces, then comes the modulo operation, then comes the division, then comes the multiplication, then comes the addition, subtraction. So there is a little change because we have exponential value here. So we are going to use the exponential at the second place, right? So coming to the string operations in Python, you can use string operations. As I said, if the value is represented within double quotes, it will be treated as a string. So the moment it will treat as a string, so when you try to combine these two, it is not going to find out the sum. It is just going to combine both the values. Let us go here. So let us go here and say, for example, I'll say x equals to a, y equals to b, right? So now what happened? X equals to a, y equals to b. Okay, it's taking the previous examples. That's why it's showing the values are not defined. Okay, let me say x equals to a and y equals to b. Y equals to b, right? Now what is the x plus y value we should get? See, same way, x equals to 35, y equals to 45. They are treated as strings now. Now what is the x plus y value? 35, 45. It's not going to sum it up. So that's what we are showing here also. So when you use strings, so we are going to take that values together, right? So we can also use single quotes instead of double quotes for the strings, right? So that is also possible. Next, see, till now we have seen how to use variables, how to declare the variables, how to assign the values, etc. Say, for example, if you want to take the input from the user in Python, so what to do? See, to take input from the user in Python, we have a function called input function. So the input function will help us to read the input from the user, right? So just to give an example, say for example, I'm just going to use string 1 or str1 equals to input. This is a function. So the moment I press enter, see, it is asking for the input. I'll say SVCE Bengaluru. Now it has taken the value. Now let me just print the str1 value. See? So this is how it's going to take the input. Now you can also take, like for example, str2 equals to input of, right? So within single quotes or double quotes, whichever you want, you can write it. So the college name is, you see, this is what I'm telling. So the college name is right? So within this, you can also take str1, right? Now, okay, so we cannot assign the value, right? Because we are just taking the input from the user. So let me just copy this. Let me just paste it here. Just remove this. That's it. What is the error still? Input expected at most one arguments. Got two arguments. So why it is showing error? Let us come back here. Okay, sorry. So we need to use the print statement, right? So when you want to take the print, combine the strings, you need to use the print statement, not input. So input is basically used to read the input from the user. So you can see here. So string input, enter a string. So print, so you have entered so and so. So this is what I'm trying to do it. So there is some small confusion. So what we are doing here is, you can take here, I just copy this. So when I say string input, enter a string, right? What is the error? Invalid syntax. Okay, I copied both the things. So let me just remove this because it is copied. Yeah. Now it is asking for enter a string. I'll say like SVCE Bengaluru. And if I want to combine this, now we need to use this statement. What we have entered, if you want to do this, then you need to go for the print statement. So print string one. Now you can see you have entered SVCE Bengaluru, right? So like this, you can take the input function to read the value from the user, right? Say for example, if I want to assign some value of integer, then how to do? Say x equals to input, see, enter value of x. So this is the input statement, right? Now I should get it. See, enter value of x. I'm just entering 10. Now I'm just printing x value. So you can see 10 has been taken. 10 has been taken, right? See, like this, it is going to take. But the problem here is, what happened? 10 is taken as a string variable. Actually, it is an integer, but it has taken as a string variable. So in this kind of scenarios, to avoid this confusion, what we need to do is we need to specify the data type. So what I will do, int input of enter value, enter x value. What is the difference between previous one and this one? Very simple. What I have done, I just mentioned the integer type, data type. When I am not mentioning, it is taking as a string. Now let us enter this. Again, I'll enter value as 20. Now let me print the x value. Now see, it has taken as a integer. Say for example, I'll again use x equals to float of input of, within double quotes, enter x value. So I want to take the float point number. Now I'll just give 12. Now if I print x value, see, it has taken as a 12.0 because we have mentioned the data type as float. So that means when you want to specifically want to get the particular data type, then you need to mention the what type of data type or what type of data you want. So that is what we are showing. So float also we have seen. Suppose if you want to get the character, so directly you can use CHR function. So I'll show you this. Say for example, I have some value of a equals to 10. CH equals to, I'll just write CHR of 10. What is the value of CH? We'll see. CHR value is new line character. Why it is new line character? Because we have assigned some value, so that belongs to that. Say for example, I have not assigned any value. CH equals to CHR of capital A, I'll give. Capital A. So what it is telling, name A is not defined. Okay, why A name is not defined? Character equivalent of A is. So actually it has to print the character equivalent of that particular value, right? So that is how it is going to take. Say for example, okay, first we need to assign some value to that. Say for example, A equals to, I'll assign like 101. Now CH equals to character value of A. Now what is CH value? So 101 is nothing but E. So it is taking that value. So this is how we can assign the value. See, what is this value? Hope you understood. This is a ASCII values, right? Which we are using. ASCII values which we are using it, right? So like this, you can use character. We can also use input function for the various data types. So then comes to the comments. So how we will mention comments in the Python. See, if you want to mention comments in the Python, either you can use hash symbol or you can also use three single quotes, right? See, when you have a particular statement where you want to make it as a comment, then you can use hash. When you have set of lines which you want to make it as a comment, that is called multi-line comment, single line comment. If it is a single line, we'll use hash. If it is a multi-line, we'll use three single quotes. Right? So these three single quotes are going to represent it as a multi-line comments, right? So when a particular user want to know about what type of program you have written, what is the purpose of this program, we are going to write this multi-line comments, right? Or you can also use single line comments. It's up to you. How we are going to use, right? So that is called single line and multi-line comments. Now next comes the mnemonic variable names. See, whenever we are doing some programming, we should be very careful in choosing the variable names. So depending on the program, depending on the requirement, we need to choose the name of the variable. Say for example, if I am finding out some value, gross salary of the employee, if I am finding out just sum of two numbers, then there is no problem. You can directly take A, B, C. But when you are calculating gross salary, you require basic and DA. So you need to mention that as a basic and DA. If you mention this one as A and this one is B, then no one can understand that. So make sure that we are using the proper mnemonics of the variables. That means proper name for the variables, right? So why we require this mnemonic of the variables? Because it will help us, the programmer, what is the purpose we created this? If I give A equals to 10,000, B equals to this one, then I cannot understand this is what we use for the gross salary calculation. So we should be very careful while doing the mnemonics, while giving the variable names, right? And also, as like we discussed a couple of minutes before, there are common errors which we'll get in Python also. We need to debug them. Accordingly, right? Say for example, if I'm using two variable declarations like average salary equals to 10,000 or 1,000, then see, you will get syntax error because it should be average underscore salary equals to some value it will take, and A equals to 0.9. So because 0.9 it would take, A equals to 9, right? So every programming language you will be having errors. Python also will get some errors which we need to solve it. And as I said, Python is a case sensitive. Let's say for example, if it is basic equals to 200, right? A equals to 0.3 multiplied by basic, I'll give like capital B, basic. See, name basic is not defined. So suppose if I give A equals to 0.3 multiplied by normal basic, what I have given. So you will get the A value, right? So like this, there are a couple of errors which we will get it. We need to solve those errors, right? So I'll stop it here. These are the very basic of the Python. First module fully we are going to study about the basics of Python. So next class we are going to talk about the conditional execution. So how we are going to do that and what are the different operators which we are going to use, right? So thanks for joining the class. So take care of yourself.